president is going to have a press conference in about 20 minutes talking about the raising of the debt ceiling. Congressman Ron Paul is here in the studio with us, talking about your money. What do you think? What do you expect the president to say? What can be said this morning? What's left to say?
He's going to urge the Congress to raise the debt limit, and if we don't raise the debt limit, we're going to default, and that's his definition of default. And that our financial markets will collapse. It'll be the most serious financial crisis in our history. And I think he'll be exaggerating, of course, because it isn't that desperate. But I think he'll, again, use fear tactics and frighten the members of Congress, frighten the American people to get on to the members of Congress,
right.
To raise the debt limit.
The Washington Post, on their fact checkers section, said this about some of what we've been talking about. The Congressional Research Service crunched the numbers. They're pretty grim. The time frame was a little different than the August default of the CRS report measures spending between April and September 30th. But the ratio is about the same. Assuming revenue could not be raised, that is, taxes cannot be raised, the cuts in spending immediately would have to be 42%. Even if all discretionary spending were eliminated, that would include defense spending, mandatory spending such as Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid would have to be reduced. This is not an option to halt border security, air traffic control, wars in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then payments to the elderly would need to be delayed or health procedures not funded. In theory, some payment suppliers could be put off for a period of time. What in the business world is known as leaning on the trade. But for what it's worth, the Treasury Department argues this would be perceived as a default by another name.
Yeah, that's possible, but the real big default is to continue to do what we're doing and default by destroying the money. And I think that he will probably carry the day. People are going to be frightened, which means the debt limit will be increased, and we'll continue to do what we've been doing. And then we've just delayed the inevitable, which is ongoing right now because of the inflation that's coming. So next year it'll be much, much worse.
So if we don't reduce taxes, and if we don't increase taxes, and if we don't reduce spending, and continue to borrow, what's the inevitable result of that?
Well, if we don't cut the spending, of course I'm not going to raise taxes, but if we don't cut the spending, it's going to destroy the dollar, and that's going to be much, much worse than what he's claiming that we have to do, and that is raising taxes right now. I mean, is just unbearable under these circumstances. But there's not going to be any.
Just on the rich.
Oh yeah, there's.
I think the
ones who create the jobs.
Well, the people, those people who are driving around in tax subsidized jets. I think the president went after jets about 8 times in his last speech.
Remember a couple years ago when they went after the yachts?
Yes, they destroyed the yacht industry.
Yeah, and who got it reversed? It was the workers that got it reversed. It wasn't the people who own the yacht companies. The workers said, hey, we lost our jobs. And that, of course, is what would happen. Let's
talk to some of the folks who have been very patient with us. Congressman Ron Paul is here in the studio with us. The subject that we've been talking about today is difficult, but I think it is pivotal to our economic well-being. This is State Representative Glenn Massey. You'd like in on this conversation?
Yes, I would, Jan. How are you this morning?
Doing great.
Dr. Paul, good to hear you on the radio with Jan.
Thank you.
This subject of the auditing of the Federal Reserve, I wanted to remind you that the state of Iowa was the first state that had all 5 of our elected representatives in Washington on board to participate in that audit.
Wonderful.
It was some of the bees peeled off later to a more watered-down, toothless version, but they initially were there. And I just wanted to let you know also that in this session of the Iowa House, we did pass a resolution to audit the Federal Reserve, and it has been sent to our colleagues in Washington to help you in that fight.
Well, that is wonderful, and what I like about it is The results of getting that bill passed last summer, at least in the House, came from the grassroots. It wasn't because I was able to twist arms, because I didn't have any clout in Washington as much as I had influence with people outside of Washington. So people like you and others went to their members of Congress, and that's the way it has to come. So there are other states, too, that have passed resolutions on sound money and the Federal Reserve. I consider that very, very healthy. This is the most exciting thing that we've had doing in the discussion of money in many, many decades, probably even since the Federal Reserve existed, that the American people are waking up. They know it's important, and they know that we have to look into it, and the monetary issue is a big deal. When you think about it, central economic planning is done by manipulation of the entire economy, and the money is one half of the entire economy. So they're in every transaction, and they're pretending that they can take a monetary unit and change its value every single day. That's like building a skyscraper with a yardstick that changes its measurements every single day. The building is not a sound building. It's a shaky building. Our economy is shaky because we do not have a sound currency. We vary the value of it continuously every single day.
Ron, I know you're aware of this. Is an excellent book that will help people understand this rather difficult subject, although it's fairly simple when you boil it right down. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island, and it's a very interesting read on how this whole house of cards is built and what it's going to take to dismantle it.
Absolutely. It's a very good book, and I wrote a statement as an introduction to that book.
Is that Edwin? Was it
Griffin.
Griffin, yeah. I remember. I had a chance to interview him a couple times over the years. My in-studio guest, Congressman Ron Paul, is here. And this is Larry. Good morning, Larry.
Yes. My question to the congressman is they keep talking about messing with Medicare and with Social Security. I want to know if this is also going to include their retirement plan and their medical plan.
As of now, I haven't heard any talk along that line because of the benefits that the members of Congress get, with their retirement plans. Even from the very first day I went in, I thought it was a little bit more than I should expect. So I've never participated in that, and I don't think any tinkering will involve the congressional pension plans, but I don't think they're that far along because it's such dynamite to even talk about, the plans. But if you did Social Security, members of Congress, are into the Social Security system as well. So if you change Social Security, you would change the congressional Social Security, but not necessarily their pension funds. And the group that will probably protect them are the union government workers because they're going to, be a strong lobbying effort. So I think we have a long way to go to know the details of what they might do on changing the entitlement system.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Did I just hear you say that you did not choose to participate in the congressional pension plan? No,
I never did. It actually has been toned down a little bit, but when I first went in, it was really, really a great benefit. And
so why did you choose not to then?
Because I didn't think it was morally right to do so, so I didn't join it.
So you have Social Security, though. That's obligatory.
Yeah, I've been paying into Social Security.
Oh, okay. And you've been buying gold.
I've been shorting the dollar. I'm an insider, and I tell people the dollar's in trouble.
You might be the only one I've ever talked to as a member of Congress who said, I'm not going to participate in the pension plan.
Well, I haven't. I'll have to say that I did talk to one other person because he came up to me and said, Ron, he says, I think you and I are the only two in the Congress, and his name is Howard Coble from North Carolina. He came up to me and made that conversation. Whether others, reject it or not, I don't know. But it is hard to turn down, when you think about it strictly in terms of the dollar amounts, because, when they were talking about what Weiner was going to benefit, and I thought, hey, maybe I made a mistake. That sounded like a pretty good deal.
Well, the other thing is, though, why should somebody who's had to leave or been sent to jail even, should they even be eligible for pension benefits?
That's a pretty good question.
Like Ross Gronkowski, for instance, now Weiner gets pushed out because of his indiscretions. Yeah. People just step down. They're still going to collect.
Well, why shouldn't we just get rid of the whole pension program altogether?
Okay.
Deal. I'll sign that bill when I'm president.
You would?
Sure.
Somebody has to introduce it, however.
Yeah. I won't be there in the House to introduce it.
So hey, thank you, Congressman Ron Paul. I really appreciate your time.
Sure thing.